All right. Well, let's get started. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Jordan Pedraza, and I lead community at Remind. We're based out of San Francisco. And tonight, we're going to be talking about Remind for school administrators and staff. Although everyone is welcome to tune in, and I think this information will be relevant for everyone that's associated with the school. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. But before I do, I also wanted to acknowledge our awesome panel here of Remind connected administrators and educators. And we're going to be hearing from them shortly about their experience with Remind. So I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully everyone can see it. And for those in the Hangout, I think if you just click on my square in the Hangout, you should be able to see this too. All right. So for those that haven't joined our Remind class yet, this is the code to join. Just text at July 20 PD to 81010. Or if you're already using the web or mobile app, you can use that code to join our class too. If you join this class, you'll be eligible for our swag raffle after the session. And also we're going to send out the recording for this session and the slide deck from today. Also feel free to use the class to reply back and send any questions throughout the session. All right, so to introduce myself again real quickly, I'm Jordan Pedraza, and I lead community at Remind. I've been here for about a little over a year. And basically my role is to help support and make sure that all educators and administrators and students and parents, basically all schools and organizations that use Remind, make sure that they have what they need to make the most out of it. And that really focuses on bringing people together for conversations like today to share and discuss best practices, resources, tips, anything like that. And then also take all of your feedback and questions and ideas and make sure the broader Remind team is aware of it so we can continue to build the best tool for you. And there's my email address there at the bottom. Feel free to contact me after the session if you have any questions for me too. So our agenda is pretty straightforward. First, we're going to start with what is Remind, and then we'll dive into some stories and how people are using it. And then we'll walk through the product in more detail, how it works and how you can use it. And then we'll wrap with Q&A. All right, so what is Remind? So simply put, Remind is a free communication tool that's for schools, and it helps everyone connected with the school communicate more efficiently. So whether that's educators, administrators, teams, groups, students, parents, etc. It's really designed to be the most instant, effective, and reachable and accessible tool to make sure you're heard and you're sharing the information that's most relevant and important for your community. Now, there's also some special school-wide features and updates that are available, and we're going to be covering those in more detail. But most importantly, again, our goal and vision is to connect everyone at a school to ultimately improve outcomes in education for everyone. So helping everyone work towards supporting the students and making sure they're succeeding. So who's using Remind? And some of you may already know of these latest stats, but over 35 million teachers and administrators and students and parents across the world. And in the U.S. here in particular, over 50% of U.S. public schools, or 75% of districts. And then also, what is really rewarding for us here is that at least 1 in 10 Title I schools are using Remind. So it's really important that we are serving all communities out there, and especially ones in need. So to date, we've delivered billions of messages already. And then why is Remind more effective than other tools out there? So we definitely know there's lots of ways to communicate. There's lots of technology you can use. There's lots of non-technology things you can use. But we find that being able to really cut through the noise and make sure people will really receive and read your message and read your information, and then also be able to get in touch with you really quickly and effectively is really important. So number one, we always hear from our community that they appreciate the speed, and real-time messaging across a team, for a group, for the entire school, or even just an individual. It's just helpful to be able to quickly get a hold of someone or send something out, even if it's at the last minute. And then you can also schedule messages ahead of time. I think that's one of our most popular features. So it just really helps you to streamline your communication and get things out and planning ahead. And then lastly, it's a pretty flexible platform. You can be able to send and receive your messages in lots of different places. So whether you're in your office, on a laptop or desktop, whether you're on the go, you can use our mobile app or even a tablet. So there's lots of ways to send and receive messages. So communicating faster. Secondly, the reach component is also important. You don't want to have anyone missing out on your information and not being informed. And so you make sure that you can reach everyone you need to. And most important with that is supporting text messages. So you can send out messages from, again, your office, your desktop, or a mobile app, wherever you choose, and then people can choose how they receive your messages. And most popular are the text feature. So we don't share any numbers, but it goes straight to their phones. And most people read their texts, while other forms of communication, email, maybe handouts, newsletters, websites, social media, that can vary in terms of effectiveness, but text, usually most of us are always there. And then also we have a translation feature that lets you translate messages into over 70 languages. And then lastly, in terms of effectiveness, because you're able to communicate quickly and because you're able to really reach everyone in a really effective way, this allows you to make sure that your message is getting across, and you can check for feedback. So with features like delivery and read receipts, and then a new feature called activities, which we'll be talking about in a bit, it just helps you, again, streamline your communication and organization around what's happening at school. And so you can really get a sense of whether people are informed or not, and what's working. And then probably the most important thing for us, and kind of the impact that we see across the country and from different school types, is what we see when we have better communication at a school. When communication is quick and easy and effective, this is what can happen. So over in Illinois at Hoffman Estates High School, there's a program to help students improve with school attendance. And so they send little personalized scheduled alarm clock messages to the students to encourage them to come to school. And they really personalize it. They really frame it in a way that's encouraging and welcoming. And so they've seen a 20% improvement in school-wide attendance since implementing Remind. Over in New York, at Lyndon B. Johnson Elementary, or PS 151, Principal Jane Hunt has seen a 3x improvement in parent turnout at school events. So before, she was using newsletters and emails, and it was just falling through the cracks. But with Remind, she was finally really able to get the word out and improve engagement there. Over in California at John Sweat Elementary School, there was a parent survey that was completed, and almost everyone said they felt very positively about receiving Remind messages, and they really appreciated being kept in the loop. And then lastly, in New Jersey at University High School, we've even seen some letter grade improvements due to increased parent involvement. We've heard this story a ton, where because parents have a better window into what's happening at school, what their children are learning, and what they're up to, they can also play a part in that process, and also learn along the way with their student and create those moments there. So there's a lot of great stories we've been hearing from across the country on what happens when you have better communication at a school. So let's learn more about how these different school communities and educators and administrators are using Remind. And I think the beauty of it all is that really any stakeholder and community member at a school can be empowered with this. It's really quick to sign up and create your groups and send messages. And so the really bigger part is how do you want to use it? So just to share some examples before we hear from our panel here. So this is from P.A. White. He's a principal at Leal Elementary in Cerritos, California. And so they actually are right outside of the LA Unified, LAUSD school district. And there was a lockdown, as many already know, last winter. And so in this urgent situation, he was able to communicate updates about whether school was open or not. And then he also was able to address questions from students or parents, actually, about whether, school was going to be open or not. And then also they had a power outage a few months ago, and their phones were down, internet was down, intercom was down. So what do you do in that situation? And maybe you need to coordinate some kind of early dismissal or a different schedule. And so with Remind, he was able to ease concerns and update hundreds of parents, almost 1,000 of them actually. So just really being able to quickly mass message everyone out in a quick way was really helpful for them. But not just for urgent situations, from an educator's perspective, but principals might want to do this too, really anyone, is anytime you have something out of the ordinary, maybe non-routine. So a one-off event or an activity or one-off assignment or initiative that you really want people to know about. It can be helpful to send that information out. So in this case here, they've in New York City at this school, they've set information about parents' meetings or for special groups or grades, and then who to go to for more assistance. And then we've seen some administrators use Remind with their staff. They'll create a class with them, and then that way, during any kind of drills, maybe accreditation visits, or even just kind of spirit days. That's a way to kind of discreetly but effectively communicate with your staff, especially if everyone's on the go or not having access to email or their computers all the time. But usually our phones are in our pockets or nearby, so it can be a quick, easy way to keep everyone in the loop. One of my favorite stories is there was a principal who on Fridays, sometimes she'll surprise her staff with saying, hey, casual Friday, wear jeans or whatever. So she'll sometimes use little surprises in there in her Remind class. And along that same vein, Bobby Dodd, principal out in Ohio at a high school, he also uses Remind to let his community know about not only school-related events, but community-related events. And we definitely heard about this a ton from lots of other schools. And it's similar to that, Principal Shallon Gaylord with his staff at John F. Kennedy High School in North Carolina. He really loves using Remind to support and encourage and inspire his team. So he's always sending little quotes and videos and things like that. So it can be really powerful to build community and make everyone feel appreciated and supported. And this is an example from an educator, but it's pretty powerful. And so this is from Miss Watkins in Georgia, and this is one of many examples we've seen. This is a pretty popular use case, but essentially, let's say you've covered a certain topic, in school, and you want to give something to parents to help them expand on the lesson and kind of also give them something a little bit more enriching to talk about than just asking, "How was your day, honey?" So, for example, the teacher may have covered volcanoes during the day, and then at home they can schedule a message right around the time they think everyone will regroup and ask, have your child tell you about the difference between lava and magma, or whatever the lesson was that day. So it's also a powerful instructional tool. All right, so now I'm going to close out here and hand the floor over to our panelists. So I'd love everyone to kind of just quickly share who they are, where they're from, and how they've been using Remind. I guess, Brent, can we start with you?
Absolutely. I'm Brent Coley. I'm a principal of a K-5 school in Murrieta, California, which is, for those of you not in SoCal, it's about 45 minutes north of San Diego in wine country, not Napa wine country, the other wine country as we refer to it down here. I use Remind kind of like what you had said, Jordan. I've got different classes set up. I have one like a news channel, a class that I've set up for parents I have one for my staff. I have one for my school site council members. One for my leadership team. Basically, like every different team or group, I have one for, and it's been highly effective. I think the best example of its effectiveness has been my school site council, because I use those as reminders of, hey, everybody, just a reminder, our next meeting is going to be this coming Wednesday at 3:30, and one of the months this last month, all my busyness, I forgot to send a reminder, and one of my parents didn't come. And afterwards, she was like, "Well, I didn't think we had one because I didn't get a text. You didn't send me a text." So basically, they've come to rely on that form of communication. So it's been highly effective. We're getting ready for orientation in a couple of weeks, and I just last night sent out the letter to parents, everyone, and we put it out on our email and website and social media, but also in Remind, because like you said, Jordan, parents, they look on their phones before they look anywhere else. And so just a quick link saying, hey, parents, check your email, go to our website, all the information for orientation is right there. So that's pretty much how I'm using it. And if I have to duck out in about 10 minutes, I don't want to be rude, but I just got a text. I'm going to have to go pick up my daughter in about 10 minutes. So sorry about that.
No, thanks so much, Brent, for joining us and sharing that. And it's kind of funny wrapping up on that note, like your text, oh, okay, gotta go, know what's happening. So
exactly.
Thank you so much. Let's see, Clemencia, please say hello.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Clemencia Acevedo. I work in a school. It's a middle school in the Bronx. I teach 7th and 8th. So sometimes I am in ICT settings, and sometimes I am in self-contained settings. So the way I use Remind, I usually, for every class, I create 2 accounts. For each class, one class for parents and one class for students, and I use it to send announcements for teacher-parent conferences, send messages to tell parents about assignments that I posted online, either in Google Classroom or in Wikispaces. And I have been using recently, the last 3 months, the new feature that Remind has, and that of organizing trips to arrange trips. For example, I had a soccer team, and I used it to arrange the trips to inform parents of where we were going, and also letting parents when we were returning. So it's been pretty effective for me, and I really like it. So I rely on it a lot, and parents also expect messages from me. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So yeah, we thought it would be helpful to share both an administrator and educator perspective. So thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. Jonathan, want to say hello?
Sure. My name is Jonathan Sixtos. I am an English teacher at Victoria East High School in South Texas. Also a department chair. So I've seen Remind used in many different ways. The main way I use it as an educator is to keep my kids up to date with due dates, attachments, assignments, PowerPoints. But one of the ways I enjoy seeing my school use it is for college readiness, talking about registration dates for upcoming tests, talking about upcoming college fairs, career fairs, different things like that. One of the more inventive ways that I've seen Remind used at a UIL meet is to keep track with all the events going on. So now it's time for the speech events. Now it's time for the mathematics events, different things like that. So I'm excited to see how everyone else uses it so that I can take that back also to my school, and we can just kind of mix ideas throughout.
Nice. Thanks, Jonathan. Lynn, want to say hello? Oh, I think you're muted still. There we go.
Yes, I was operating from my phone. I'm sorry. I'm Lynn. I'm in Northern Virginia. I'm a principal of a K through 5 school, and love Remind. Love, 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 love. Been doing some networking with principals and letting them know that it's such a great tool. My community loves it. They love it, parents and teachers. And I will tell you, I think that the reason for our surveys to be as high as they are in regards to customer satisfaction is because of Remind, because we are on top of things. We own the story and we get to tell it first. They don't have to wait. We have 17 buses, and there's a couple that are always late. And because of Remind, we're able to communicate with the parents so that they can make arrangements accordingly. And they're just on top of it. And I'll tell you, on my satisfaction surveys, they mentioned it, and they said, "Do not get rid of it. We love it." They don't go to the website. They just rely on Remind to communicate with us. So I'm super excited to know about it, continue the work with you guys, and just making it better for our school.
Awesome. And I love that phrase, owning that story. I think we hear that a ton. So, yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. Cool. Ryan, you're next.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I teach 6th grade at Chick-fil-A Middle School in Battleground, Washington. And like the others have said, I use Remind for different reasons, mostly just to remind students and parents about upcoming tests and due dates of assignments, stuff like that. All the feedback I've had on Remind has been positive, so that's great. In addition, I've used Remind as for union work. So I'm the building representative or leader for our middle school, and I use it to communicate with staff about upcoming union activities and meetings and stuff like that. So it's been really positive. People have been in the loop more because of it, and I just really appreciate the Remind service a lot.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan. And that's the other cool thing I'd love to hear from people is how you're using it with your own networks and PLNs and communities. So again, showing the flexibility in that you can use it to connect with other people even outside of your school. So that's awesome. And then last but not least, Beth, would you say hello, please?
Hi. I love Remind. I think it's been 3 years now that I've been using Remind. And I find that it's great communicating. I know some teachers don't like to have that open line where you can allow them to email or chat back. But I personally like that feature because this way they can tell me if something's bothering them, and I wouldn't probably chat back to them unless it's something minor, but I can definitely pick up the phone and call right away, and at least I know that I can diffuse that situation really quickly. So I love that feature. I love that you've added more, characters, because now I can get a full message out there. I actually use it, and I send out a text every day. I teach 1st grade, first of all, so that kind of gives you a heads up. Parents are really gung-ho still, so I try to utilize that, and I either will send a picture of like the question of the day or something that interesting happened that day to just keep the parents involved. I also, somebody else said I put the homework out there, so my principal is thinking about it, so she said definitely give me more info. So there you go.
Awesome. Thanks, Beth. Cool. So thanks again to all of you for just taking the time to share your stories on this panel. Really appreciate it, and just glad that we've been helpful to you in your schools. So I'm going to share my screen again and continue along. If any of you have to hop out, feel free, but you're welcome to stick around and hear kind of the latest and greatest of what's coming. So just going to share my screen here again. All right. Cool. So how does Remind work? How are all these lovely people using it? So there's 3 steps to get started, no matter what role you are. So the first is to create an account. That takes you a few seconds, really. It's pretty easy. So you can create an account on your mobile app. We have an app for iPhone and for Android. Or you can just go to the web at remind.com. And if you're an administrator, ideally you'll sign up with your school email, because we'll use that to verify that you're an actual administrator of your school. And we do that for safety and security purposes. So after you've created an account and you can choose your role when you sign up, student, parent, teacher, or administrator, you can create classes and add people. And you can add people to your classes in a variety of ways, which I'll be walking through next. And then your participants can choose how they receive messages. And then lastly, you can start communicating. So you can choose whether to send messages to your entire school if you're an administrator, or your entire class if you're an educator, or other kind of organizer. You can also start group chats with up to 10 people, or just send messages to individuals. So now let's walk through all these kind of steps. So if you're an administrator, we create a school class for you instantly when you sign up and get verified that you're the administrator of your school. And so this school class includes anyone who already has a Remind account and is connected to your school. And people can connect to your school when they sign up and create accounts. So now for you, you'll always be able to see, all right, who's using Remind and said that they are at my school. And then you can always go back in and change or update that if there's anything that's not accurate. So you can always see this school class on the web or on the app. On the web, it's always going to be on the left-hand side at the top. So in this example, it's Sycamore Grove High School. And then on the app, we'll show it at the bottom under the schools section. And then let's say you already have your school-wide class, but you want to create your own classes. So totally up to you. All you have to do is just look for the Create a Class button, and you just click on that. Again, that's either on the web or the app. And then from there, you'll see a window where you can customize your class. And then any classes you create will always be under the Classes Home section. So when you're customizing your class, you can choose the name and the code and the icon for the class. And you can change these at any time, actually. You can always go back into your class settings and change it if you want. And so for your icon, we have about 20 different options for you. And we have them across different logos or subjects or topics, so whatever is pertaining to the class. And then another new feature, and I'm going to be talking about this again later, but you can add multiple owners to a class. So if you need co-administrators or co-teachers or other staff that should be able to send messages out to your group, you can add them. And then this is also for administrators, and it's only on the web. But let's say you want to add the rest of your staff onto Remind and kind of get them started, so that's one less thing they have to do. So on the web, when you log in, if you go to the right upper hand corner, there's a button that says Add Teachers. And if you click on that, then you'll be shown options to add staff to your school. We also always have a People tab in your kind of class tile in the upper left-hand corner as well. So either way, it'll show you how to add staff there. So digging deeper into that, so there are 2 ways you can add staff if you're an administrator at a school, or for those that are ever added as a co-administrator. So first is you could upload a spreadsheet, so a CSV file, and you can download a template that we have actually. So if you don't know kind of what format works, there's a template, and it's pretty straightforward. You just have the first name, then the last name, and then the email address, and that's it. And once you have that, so let's say it's in Excel or another kind of spreadsheet, here's my list of names here. I can upload that here, and then they're automatically added on Remind. And then if you just want to add a couple folks, manually, or you just want to copy-paste people in from a list you already have, you can do that too. So for the last option I mentioned, you would click on the Upload a Spreadsheet feature, and then for this one, it just says Enter Contacts Manually. So you would use that if you just want to type in or copy-paste just a few people manually. And again, here, you just need the name and email address, and that's it. And then let's say for other classes you've created, so outside of your school class that you have, you can have up to 4 ways to add people into it. So you can add them in person. You basically just show them your code, and then they text that code in, and they're in. You can add them directly or automatically if you already have their information. You can share a link to join your class, or you can share it via Hangout. So on the web, we show you all of these 4 options. Whenever you are in a class and you click on the Add People button, this menu pops up, and you can choose whatever option you like. And then for the mobile app, again, when you're on a class and you click on the People tab, then we show you this button to add people, and these are the 3 options there. So I do want to note the handout option is only available on the web, but everything else is the same.
Jordan, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is now my past 3rd year of using Remind. Last year I couldn't delete a class. How do I go about doing that?
That's a good question. Let me hop out real quickly here. So I'm actually in my Remind account. We use Remind at Remind. Who would have thought? So let's say I have my Remind PD July 27 class. I just go to my class settings. So there's a gear here on the web up in the upper left-hand corner. And then if I scroll down, there's a delete class button. So I'm not going to delete it, but that's what you would do on the web. And then on the mobile app, it's pretty similar. I believe if you're in your class, you should see an option for your class settings. And if you click on that, I think you just scroll down and look for the delete class button. Okay, I'm looking at it right now. So if you're on the mobile app, you click on the class in question, and then at the top, it has the name of your class. And so you just click on that at the top, then you can scroll down and delete your class.
So okay.
Yeah. I can send you screenshots after too.
Okay, cool.
And I'll send out the information on the Remind class. So going back to other ways to add people to a class. So I mentioned in-person instructions. This is probably one of the most popular and effective ways to get people in your class, especially if you're going to have people in person all together at the same time. Essentially, it just shows you the class code and then what number to text it to. So you basically tell people, hey, take out your phone and then copy this here. Type this code and text it to this number. So you could do this on the web or the app. Number 2 is adding people automatically. So to access this option, again, it's on that menu I said where you can click on phone or email contacts on the web or add people directly on the mobile app. So on the web, it's the screen I showed you all earlier where you can basically just add people's names and information. Now, for classes you create, you can add people's phone numbers or email addresses. And what happens is when you add them, we send them a notification that they've been added to your class, and then if they want to opt out, we show them instructions for that. And then similarly on your mobile app, so if you click on the Add People Directly button at the bottom, then we'll get asked for permission to connect to your phone contacts, and then from there you can choose whoever's contacts you already have, you can add them to your class directly there. And again, they also get a notification if they've been added. Some other notes about this new kind of automatically add people feature. So I mentioned again, especially in a class you create, there's 2 columns. So the name and then the contact information. Now, let's say you've only added email addresses. A common question we get is, does that mean they're only going to get notifications via email? No. What it's only doing is just sending them an invitation that they've been added in your class, and then they can choose how they will get notifications. So they just enter in their phone number if they want the text, or if they're using the mobile app, they can choose to get mobile notifications. And again, no numbers are shared. So even if you've added their number in here, they're not going to see yours. And then also, they can always go into Remind and change how they get notifications too. So a couple of other options for adding people, sharing a link. So if you click on the Share Link button on the web or on the app, we provide you your class link. So you can copy that and paste that on social media, on an email, handout, right on a board, however you choose. And then lastly, principal handouts. So this is only on the web, but we say principal PDFs on the menu there. And if you click on that, we show you a preview of the PDF. So it's kind of smaller here in this first column. And then one thing I wanted to call out is you can translate this PDF into 6 languages. So it's a little drop-down menu right there where it says language. So if you click on that, you can translate the PDF. And then if you ever want to kind of get a better sense of what it looks like, you can always download it first, and then you can print it out, you can share it however you choose. But this is essentially what it looks like. It kind of describes, you know, what Remind is and what it's for and how to join the class. So after you've added people to your class, then the last step is sending a message. So on the web, basically you just want to look for this blue pencil box. So if you click on that, then we show you a drop-down menu of what kind of messages you can send. So you just choose whatever one you want, and then that's it. And then on the mobile app, similar deal. You just find the blue pencil button, and then we show you a menu, and you choose how you want to send a message out. And then I also wanted to quickly talk about some new administrative features. So this is for folks that are administrators at their school. So I already mentioned this earlier, but just to highlight that this is only for administrators or co-administrators. But basically, if you want to be able to add staff accounts to your school, so save time, just kind of get everyone on one fell swoop, and then you can, you know, walk through how they can use it. So you just log in on the web, and you either look for the Add Teachers button or the People tab. There it is again. And then the other cool thing, and I was mentioning this earlier, so let's say you just want to get a sense of how your school is connected on Remind, like who's using it and what's going on. So all you have to do is just click on the People tab, and you can do this on the web and mobile. I'll show you mobile in a minute. But if you click on the People tab for your school-wide class, then we show you a list of all the folks at your school. So their names, what role they have, or what role they've signed up as, when they joined, and then some other information. And if you want to quickly message someone individually, you can do that here too. So let's say I've clicked on Aaron here, just as an example, and I saw he was listed as a parent, but I know Aaron, he's a student or he's a teacher. Sometimes people might sign up with the wrong role, or maybe they've changed roles. So as an administrator, you can always go in and update that, and that will be updated. So that's that. And then let's say you wanted to get some more information about someone. So you just click on these little 3 dots here on the right-hand side. And then here we pop up a menu of some options. So you can view their profile. That's basically just showing their overall activity on Remind and the classes they have. You can copy them to another class. So let's say you just want to create another class or group of people. You can do that. We also added a new functionality to block users. So if there's someone who should not be connected to your school on Remind or should not be contacting you or anyone at your school, you can block them. You can request message history or transcripts. You can unlink someone from a school. So let's say someone's changed schools or left, you can always unlink them. And then if there's any other issues, you can report it to us, and our support team will be happy to help. So just to show a little bit of what the profile shows again. So this is just an example, but let's say I'm clicking on a certain person and I want to see, oh, they've sent these many announcements and they've had these many chats. They've had a lot of chats. And then also you can check how they're getting notifications from you. So I use mobile notifications and email. And then also I can write in my own notes for someone. So if I ever want to note, oh, this is Alex's mom, or oh, this is our co-chair for the science department, or whatever notes that would help you. And then of course I can always use the send a message button there if I want to quickly communicate with that person. And then the other cool thing, if you keep scrolling down on that view profile window, so this is the first half, and then this is the second. So then if I want to see what classes are they in, or what classes have they created. So here I can see that Jordan, or that's me, I've created some classes here, and if they don't belong at that school, you can unlink them. You just remove that class so it's not connected to your school. And when a teacher or whoever creates a class, they can say whether it should be connected to your school or not. Because sometimes if there's a class they've created for a parent group or another PLN or networking group, then it doesn't necessarily need to be connected to your school. And then you can also see what other classes they've created and even join them right here. So that's that. And then the same thing on the mobile app. So let's say you've clicked on your school class. So then we have a people tab. And if you click on that, it'll show you all the people connected to your school. And then there's the button again for adding more people if you like. So let's say I click on one person and I see similar options. I can copy them to another class. I can communicate with them. I can change their role, remove them, block them, report them. So a lot of the same kind of features are on web and mobile. The other cool thing I wanted to highlight, this is only on the web, but we have a statistics tab for your school class. So if you click on statistics there, it shows you in aggregate how many teachers are using Remind, how many participants have joined classes across your whole school, how many classes in total there are. And then we also show you updated activity in the last month. So how many announcements, how many announcements per teacher, and how many chats that are happening. So this can be helpful for if you need to have a report of evidence of homeschool communication or engagement, for example. So that's that. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to call out is if you would like to delegate, this access or these features to someone else, you can totally do that. Just contact our support team, and we'll be happy to add other co-administrators. All right, so that's kind of the latest on administrator features, and then this kind of applies to everyone, but some other new things I wanted to quickly call out, and then we'll dive into Q&A. So the biggest one I wanted to cover was our new layout, and some of you have already been seeing this, but basically we're trying to simplify and streamline Remind, and we've heard feedback that it's easiest to understand how it all works and manage everything if it's organized by classes. That's kind of how people have said they use it. So we've organized everything by classes. That's kind of your home base now. And this applies to both the web and mobile. And then what we've done is we've added some tabs for you, again, either on the web or the mobile app. So on the mobile app, this is for iOS right here, but similar case for Android. You basically want to see your messages, how to compose, and your people. So for messages, that's for when you want to see what you've sent or what you've received. And this can be announcements. That's the first thing we show at the top. So that's kind of the one-way blast. And then conversations are two-way or group conversations. And then the second button here is the blue pencil thing I mentioned earlier. So when you want to compose a new message, whether that's a class-wide announcement, a conversation, or an individual message, that's from there. And then the People tab, it lets you see who's in your class. And if you're an administrator, you can do a couple of other things. Here, for example, I can assign roles even from the mobile app. So if you have any feedback on this new layout, there's our school admin at RemindHQ email address. Or feel free to tweet at us or contact me, however you choose. And yeah, we're always happy to hear any feedback or suggestions. On the web, real quickly, so similar kind of deal. On the left-hand side, you always see the list of classes you own. And we kind of show a hierarchy, especially if you're an administrator. First you see the school-wide class, then you see the classes you own, then you see the classes you've joined. That's always on the left-hand side. And then I mentioned earlier, for class settings, just look for that gear in the upper left-hand corner. So that's where you can change the name, delete your class, change the code, any of that stuff. And then the People tab up here shows you who's in your class. And then Activities, which I'll be talking about in a second, is the new feature where you can create and organize events. And then the second column here is where you see all your messages. So everything you've sent or received, first announcements, then conversations, and then activities. And then the pencil button, again, that's to compose new messages. And then all the way down here at the bottom is where you can see all of your classes. So it basically shows messages across everything. And then lastly, if you want to access your profile or settings or get help, it's all the way in this bottom corner here. So now activities. I've been referencing this a little bit, but basically what it is, it's a way for you to organize events and collect funds if you need to. So we're trying to just reduce the hassle out of coordinating volunteers, coordinating participants, sending out information, tracking responses, collecting money or fees. So this is all embedded in Remind. And really the benefits here is that, one, no more cash or checks. So let's say you have a field trip coming up and you want to send information out and you want to track who's attending. And then optionally, if it's relevant, but if you need to collect funds or money for the trip or any kind of event, your participants can pay electronically. So they can pay with a credit or debit card. And then you can add a school bank account and an administrator. So if there's a special bookkeeper or assistant or someone that manages all that, you can just add them, and then they will have access to add school bank accounts and transfer any funds. So it never touches your personal bank account. And then everything is all saved, all transactions, receipts. So anytime someone does a payment, they'll get an email receipt. And then for you, whether if you're the administrator, you'll have access to all the transactions. And then you can always contact our support team in case there's any issues that come up. And just to show you a little bit more of what it looks like. So especially on the receiving end, so if you've created your activity, you can list all the relevant information, the details, the location, the date and time, if there is a cost or if there's not. And then for them, they just mark yes, maybe, or no, and then they can always add a private message that just goes to the event organizer. And then if there is a payment involved, we'll just show that for them there, and they have a little window where they can add their payment information. And then as far as administrators or anyone who's involved with depositing or transferring any funds, in your profile settings, there is a transactions tab. And that's where you can add a school bank account or an administrator. And then also, if you are on the receiving end and you ever need to do a payment, you can also add your credit or debit card there too. One other cool thing I wanted to note is when you're sending out an activity and after people have responded, they have the option to add the activity to their Google Calendar. So we show them a little link to do that, and then basically it automatically creates a calendar event that has all the time and date and location information there. Some other new things, this isn't that new, but not everyone knows about it yet. Multi-owner classes. So again, if you have co-teachers, co-administrators, team leads, anything like that where you need people to send out messages, then you can add them as a class owner, and they just need to be subscribed to your class first before you can add them as an owner. And you can find the Add Owner button on the web or the mobile app. You just want to get to the class in question and then go to your People tab and then add whoever you want to add. Read receipts. So this is a popular one that we've always been asked about. So basically, this lets you see who's received and read your messages and who hasn't. So what happens is when you've sent a message on the web or the mobile app, you'll see a little status indicator next to the message after it was sent. And so if it's a green check mark, that means it was sent successfully. And if there's a yellow exclamation point, that means there was an error. So if you hover over that and click on it, then we show you some options. You can tweet out your message, you can send it again. You see that it was delivered at a certain date and time. But once you click on that status button, then we show you a delivery summary. And from there, you can see exactly who has read and received your message. So we show you the number of errors and some stats on how it went. And then if there's any people that you need to follow up with who didn't get the message or didn't check it out yet, you have that available to you. And then role-based messaging. So I mentioned this with administrators, but this is also coming to teachers as well. So let's say you have a class where there's multiple types of people in it, maybe some students, some parents, some teachers. But sometimes you might just need to message a subset. So we're going to show you the roles that you have in a class, and then you can select a subset and then just send the message to them. So let's say there's only, I only need to send a message to students for this particular update I'm sending out. So I just click on the relevant button, and then it shows me, okay, I'm only sending to students from this class. And then another underrated one that I think a lot of people can benefit from is the ability to embed your Remind class feed on a school website or a blog or any kind of page. So oftentimes, we're having to update and communicate in a lot of different places and channels. But hopefully with this can save you a little time. So that way you can automatically just push out whatever you're sending on Remind to a page. So if people do happen to check web pages. So here's an example from Leal Elementary, who I was talking about earlier. So they have a Leal Lions class for their community, and they've embedded the class on their school webpage. So that way, that's one less thing they have to update. It stays updated anytime they've linked off to something. Like here in this example, they've linked off to a parent letter. You know, people can access it from that page. So to access this, you just have to go on the web, and then your settings, and then look for the widgets tab. All right, so that just about covers what's new, and I'm going to open up again for questions. So if any of y'all in the Hangout have any questions, also I've seen some come through the Remind class. For those in the Remind class, feel free to just reply back to me and send in your questions. So I have one from Kyra. Under our school people, several of our teachers are listed twice. Why might that be? That's a great question, and I've seen that a bit. So sometimes people create duplicate accounts. When you sign up for Remind, it's tied to an email address, and so sometimes people may initially sign up with their personal email address, and then they may forget about it, or they maybe want it separate, and then they'll sign up again and create a class for, or sorry, create an account for their school email address. So that's why they're showing up as duplicates. We have the ability to merge accounts if that's what they would like to do. You know, sometimes people like to keep them separate, but yeah, if you're an administrator and you see that, then you can follow up with you know, whoever that is and check like, oh, did you want to merge them or not? And then we can help with the merging if you just contact our support team. Let's see. If teachers already have an account, how do I get them to belong to our school account? That's another great question. I didn't cover that. So remember with that add staff feature I was showing earlier, where you can upload a sheet or copy paste people in manually. So when you do that, if we notice someone already has an account on Remind and that's connected to your school, we'll let you know. We'll show a little pop-up button that says, oh, they already have an account, they're set. So you won't be duplicating their account, you won't be adding them again. They're just already added, and you'll know when you try to add them again. Let's see, another one. Is there a limited amount of people that you can have in your class? No, there is not. We've seen some pretty large classes out there. In a most common case, like at a whole school, you know, we've had folks that have a class of 1,000 parents or students, and it's totally worked fine for them. On the larger end of the spectrum, we have a few districts that are using us, Newark Public Schools, for example, and they have a pretty large class. I forget the exact count, but it does support that large of a group. I would say once you get to around 5,000 people, you know, there may be some delays, but technically we don't have an explicit limit on how many people are in your class. Keep the questions coming. Okay. Oh, did you have a question?
Oh, yeah, I actually do. Our school, our parents write a check, and then we have to, like, I don't know, we have to do all the accounting, then bring it over to them, and they count it. And so how would that work? Because you're talking about doing a credit card or whatnot. How? Because we do it like Southall UFSD, you know, something like that. So how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're definitely aware of that. I think we're adding the ability to kind of mark if someone has paid through another means, so check or cash, because we know that will still happen. So I don't have anything to show you right now around that, but I do know the team is aware of that and will be incorporating that.
So that person right now that we give the checks to, we can't right now have them be incorporated into our classroom right now, as of now, or do you know what I'm saying? Like you had connected before with their, you said something about having them connected to your trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if there's someone that manages all the kind of money aspects of things, you can add them as an administrator. So when you're actually, let me show it right now. I'm just going to share my screen again. So when you've logged in on the web right now, and eventually the mobile app, we can add it there too. Let's see here. So I'm going to go to my profile, and then my account, and then the transactions tab. So here is where you can, I'm actually already an administrator, so it actually doesn't show it, I'm sorry. But there's an option to add an administrator. And then that way you can add whatever email address that they have, and then it will let them know what Remind activity is and how to add a school bank account. So that's kind of how that works.
Right, right. Okay, maybe that would work. Okay. It would be great because that would be one less thing for me to have to do.
Yep, totally. So someone asked about how to check if you're on the latest mobile app. So my advice there is, check the App Store for whatever phone you use. So for iPhone, the iOS Store or App Store, and then Android, the Google Play Store. So I think there, once you find the Remind app, so search for Remind, will tell you if there's an update, and then you can install the latest version. Also, I believe in your profile, let me just check here. So you're able to check your version on your profile. But yeah, we usually on the App Store, we publish updates there. So so definitely just check back. I think at least on iOS, I'm not sure about Android, you can check whether you want to have automated install updates or not. I think they have that for Android too. So that's another option there. But when in doubt, check the App Store. As far as how often there's updates, in general, we try to push out new improvements or features every few weeks or so. So, but yeah, I think there's an option to automatically just get the latest version. So just have that turned on. Kyle, I see that you joined us. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself and share how you use Remind?
Yeah, I use Remind. I'm a school, and I use Remind to send messages to teachers. I send messages to my leadership team. I send messages to my parents. My latest thing that I've done is I just got back from Washington, D.C. at the NAESP, and it was the first time I'd been there, so as I was touring all of the monuments, I would send out quizzes to my kids, a little video feed of a quiz. So, if I was at the Washington Monument, I'd ask a question about the Washington Monument, and then hopefully they would respond. No responses yet. They're not used to it. So, something in the summer, but
cool.
Anyway, those are the things I use it for.
Awesome. I do love that use case, though. It's kind of like a virtual field trip, and also I think it's a nice personal touch too, because it kind of gives them a window into, oh, this is what else you do outside of school. So there's another teacher we have when she attends conferences similar to NAESP or other ones. She'll send pics of new tools or events she's going to her students, so they kind of get to ask her about what she's up to. So thank you for sharing that. All right, well, I think we have just about 1 minute left. Any last questions before we wrap up?
It's not a question, but I just want to say I really like the add-in that you have where you can see who has read the messages, because a lot of times they won't check off whether they've seen it. So by having you have that, it lets me know if they definitely have received it and they know what's going on for the next day. So kudos.
Thank you. Glad to hear that. Cool. I don't see any other questions. So thank you to our panelists again for taking the time to share their story with us tonight and your great questions. And thanks to all of you tuning in out there as well for taking the time and asking your questions too. So this was recorded, and I'm going to send out the recording if you're on the Remind class. And we'll also post it on And then also I'm going to share the presentation I used on the Remind class as well. So you can feel free to make a copy and use if you need. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great rest of your summer and evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.